Okay, everybody. Welcome to the Grace City Youth Group podcast. My two superstar leaders here, Jacob and Dylan, are both
Hello.
committed to Christ, and through their leadership have led many other people to the grace of Jesus Christ. And they have taken upon themselves to become great leaders. They take on challenges. Presently in the youth group, we are working through Sean Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. And it's a character-based, servant-based type leadership. And Mr. Followell has his own business, the Followell Company. And his name, I've told him, is the perfect name for him. I met him at a John Maxwell seminar and immediately was impressed with his capabilities. His communication skills are unequaled by anybody in the industry. He has a master's of health administration from the University of Kentucky. He's worked for 8 for-profit companies across 7 states. He built 3 new hospitals. He has led thousands of team members and has personally groomed 12 to reach the executive level. Dylan and Jacob will have questions for you with regards to the current quest that we're on for leadership based upon service to Jesus Christ. Dylan, go ahead with your questions.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Dylan, would you like to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can read the first one. Your video is off, by the way.
Oh, okay. Here, let me jump back into that real quick. If I can find it. Sorry about that. Okay. Hopefully I'll be able to remember this because I don't have it written down. Okay. Are you guys ready?
We're ready.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So, Mr. Followell, can you give us a few leadership principles that are important in order to be successful?
Absolutely. You know, I think the first and most important thing is you have to have direction. You've got to know who you are and where you're going in order to lead anybody else. Probably the most important and most difficult person that you're going to lead is yourself. And for me, obviously, I may not be like everybody else, but certainly like the folks on this podcast, you know, first and foremost to me is my Savior. And if I can take my lead from him and, you know, I have the roadmap for me in the Bible, you know, as John Maxwell says, Mr. Mike there and was saying that we're both John Maxwell team members. And one of the things that he always points out is that if you want to throw out any leadership principle, he can show you where it is in the Bible. And so starting with that in mind and having the cross, you know, as the thing that I always keep my eyes on makes it a whole lot easier. But, you know, beginning to know yourself, learning to really appreciate your own strengths, your own weaknesses, and begin to define what your own personal values are. When I have my desk, right now I have my little stand-up desk, but when I was at the hospital, I kept my values in my top left-hand drawer. And I could pull those out and show them to people and say, you know, here are my 6 values, my core values. And I had defined them. It wasn't enough just to give them the words, but I told them what those meant to me.
Yeah.
I also said that, you know, listen, anytime you see me do something that is contrary to these, I want you to call me out on it. I said, because one of 3 things has taken place. Either, number one, you don't have all the information that I had when I made a particular decision, or I didn't have all the information that you currently have when I made my decision, or I just made a boneheaded decision, and I'm certainly capable of doing that.
I think we all are at times
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I
Joe,
agree.
like to take the next question for us?
Sure.
I sure will. So being a leader means to guide your followers to success. Is there a common pattern of steps when leading your followers? And if so, can you give a broad example of what that might look like?
Sure. Yeah. I guess the second thing, first thing is know yourself. Second thing is you got to know the people you're going to lead. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to follow you if they don't believe that you have their best interest at heart.
Mhm.
And you can't lead others and you can't have their best interests if you don't get to know them. You have to really focus on them, make them the most important thing. That's where servant leadership comes into play. You know,
Yeah.
again, we follow our lead from Christ. He put everyone else in front of him. He washed the disciples' feet.
Mhm.
And if we do that, if we focus on our team members and not on ourselves, and we're always trying to add value to people that we serve, then number one is getting to know them.
Yeah.
Second thing is communicating. You know, you've got to listen carefully to everything. Don't get so far in front that you think that you have all the right ideas, because you've got to listen to other people. And once you do that, once you become a great listener and a great communicator, then people will follow you. You can't be a leader without followers. That's plain and
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think trustworthiness is a big factor in that. So thank you. Here,
Yeah.
I'll get on to the next question. Okay. So from what I've read, you seem to have a lot of experience working with teams. So contrary to leading a team, what would be good advice for someone who is new to a group and trying to work their way up the ranks, per se?
Yeah, that's a great question. But, you know, it's not that much different than being the leader, because being a team member means that you have the opportunity to lead at any moment in time. And again, knowing what the mission is, knowing what the goal is for the team, communicating, and you have to have enough confidence in yourself to believe that you have something to offer to the rest of the team. That doesn't mean that you're trying to be boastful or stand out, but you have a skill set yourself that is unique. It's a God-given talent and skill, and that's there for everybody else. And again, you don't have to be boastful, but looking for those opportunities to serve and to show and to use your talents and your skills is critical. Communicating with the rest of the team, again, knowing your teammates, knowing their strengths, knowing their weaknesses, looking for those opportunities to step in and protect their weaknesses for them, be there to serve them and help them. You know, it's just like a basketball team. You guys play basketball?
Yeah, I used
I
to.
watch a lot of sports. I've never played basketball, though.
Well, you should. It's a great sport. Being from Kentucky, I didn't have a choice. We had to be basketball fans. But, you know, on a basketball team, you got 5 different players, and you got at least 3, oftentimes 5 different positions, and they're all on the same team. And
Yeah.
so while each one of those has a different skill set and a different body type typically, and, you know, height, size, and abilities, at any moment in time, any of those players could be switched into a different role. And so you have to understand the roles of your teammates. You have to be willing to step in, and then you have to be prepared to make that transition and to be a team player, not to hog the ball. And so whether you're a basketball player or you're a hospital administrator, if you want the limelight all the time, it will ultimately backfire on you. So as you move into a team setting, what you want to look for are opportunities to serve. Where can you use your God-given talents and skills for the betterment of the team? Not to make yourself look better, but to help the team.
That's very interesting.
As you do that, people will take notice of that. You'll get more and more opportunities to serve, and you will just rise to in leadership, because it'll just be the natural progression.
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought about it that way, and it's putting it in a whole different perspective for me. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dylan, would you like to take the next one?
Yeah. Okay, so I shared what I think leadership is, and I understand that this may vary from person to person, but how would you describe leadership?
Well, again, to me, it goes back to Christ, and he was the model for servant leadership.
Mhm.
And leading is, again, you can't be a leader without followers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so understanding, knowing, one of the things that we haven't talked about yet is having vision. As a leader, you're always going to be, or oftentimes, 1, 2, 10 steps in front of everybody else. As a leader, that's the nature of leading, because you're in front of everybody. But
Yeah.
it also means that you need to be the servant to everyone else.
Hmm.
And so, again, to me, leadership is all about adding value to others. It's about knowing, understanding, and serving others.
Yeah. It almost seems like opposite of the meaning, because it's a cycle that goes back into you're serving that other person, and that's super cool to think
Yeah.
of, how being a leader doesn't mean to just show everyone the way, but kind of help each person individually to better themselves. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
As a hospital CEO, early in my career, I thought I had to know everything, and give everybody all the answers. Towards the end of my career, I realized I really didn't have to do any of that. My job was to groom and develop the people that worked with me and were on my team to be the very best that they could be. And not only the people on my team, but my global team, whether I was going to the Rotary Club like I will be at 7:30 in the morning, or I was at the Chamber of Commerce, or I was in Sunday school. If I could make and help everybody else that I came in contact with be the very best that they could be, then the team, the bigger team, everybody wins. So,
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes like you never know if that person like really needed that. Like every individual person needs different things, and one person may need a strong leader to succeed.
Hmm.
And it's
well,
good to,
a good leader again is going to know his or her teammates, and they're
yeah,
going to be
exactly.
there for them. Sometimes they're going to be there to pat them on the back and say, "Great job," and sometimes they're going to be there to push them a little bit and say, "You know what? You can do better than that. We need you to
Yeah.
do
Hmm.
better than that. You're capable of doing better than that," because
Hmm.
all
Yeah.
of us need that from time to time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Constructive criticism. I think that's a very interesting skill that leaders, in my opinion, should have, because that's another thing that goes back into knowing the person as well, is when to give that constructive criticism, in order to help them be the best person that they can be. So
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not constructive criticism. Sometimes it's not criticism at all. Sometimes it's just reframing the situation and getting the person to think outside the box, to think in a different way than they're thinking currently. You're not criticizing, but you're just reframing it for them. They have the answer. It's clouded at that moment. And so that
Yeah.
makes it, Mr. Sheridan is great at doing that, by the way.
They got to get in the right mindset.
Yes.
yeah, he I will say, I know when I start to, well, myself or Dylan, when we start to lose focus on the goal and think negatively, he'll definitely put us back in place. I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, definitely.
And a skilled leader, what they say then at that very moment won't come across as criticism, but again, it's just reframing the issue and making you look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Man, I've never thought about it that way before. I'm learning so much here. This is awesome. Okay. Let's see, what question are we on now? I think we
The last one.
okay, here we go. Last one. So, the book we are currently reading, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, talks about sharpening the saw, or, renewing yourself. And you can see that it can work and relationships can take a toll on people. So if you had to give advice, what would be a few examples of how you renew yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually?
Well, again, it goes back to knowing yourself.
Mhm.
Being able to recognize when you're struggling and when you're tired, when you're exhausted. And, I love what John Maxwell says, and many people have said it, I'm sure, but he always says, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong, or smartest person in class, you're in the wrong class. It is so important, so important to surround yourself with like-minded people. Now, I'm not saying that you don't want diversity, because you do. That helps build you and helps you to grow, but you need to have a core around you that that you can trust, that believe like you believe, that when you're struggling, when you need somebody to lean on, you can pick up the phone and they're going to be there for you. They're going to challenge you to do things better, to reframe issues for you, and just re-energize you. Go to the things that re-energize you, and don't wait until you need it. Don't wait till you're struggling. What books have you read that really pump you up? What music do you listen to that pumps you up? For me, it's Stephen Curtis Chapman and Third Day and Michael W. Smith. So turn to those songs that when you hear those, it's like, you get this big burst of energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What books, what quotes, what movies, what friends, what life experiences have you had? Places that you can go in your own mind that will recharge you. Know that on the front end. Write it down when you are in a good point, so that you already have it. So when you're struggling, that's the worst time to try to create that list. Make it when you're on top of the world, and then put those things at your fingertips. Most everybody has a smartphone these days. Put those songs on your smartphone. Put those books and those quotes and those things that that really help you out. And for me, we're all different, but for me, it's those key friends that I know I can pick up the phone, I can count on. And we may go for days or weeks without talking, but I know when I need them, they're a phone call away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. I think it's very good to have a good friend who thinks similarly to you. For me, that's Dylan.
Yeah, that's Jacob for me.
And I know that we kind of challenge each other. So it is very good
and we also help each other, because I'm good at thinking about the small details, and Jacob's really good at thinking about the big picture of things. So when we think about things like that together, it just really comes out as a good outcome.
And that's where that diversity comes in. I mean, when most people think of diversity, they think of religion or color or nationality, and it doesn't have to be that. It can be, I'm a deep thinker, or I love to be on stage in front of everybody. I'm a good salesperson, and I love that, or this person loves the detail, and they follow through on everything. And so together, you blend those, and you got a great team. Just like a great basketball team, you can't win a basketball game with all guards. You got to have guards and forwards and shooting guards and centers, and having people around you again that are like-minded in the key things, real core values, but then have different strengths. That's what you really. If you can find that, somebody that will tell you when you're out of line. They're not afraid to tell you, "Hey, you're out of line." That's an important skill to have, an important person to have on your side.
Yeah, and I heard an amazing example once from I think Sean told me this. Sean Sheridan told me that a team is kind of like a body, and each person has a different job. So one person could be the mouth, and they could, spread the word Another person could be the feet, and they kind of, put the stepping stones and help plan things out. And that's when it kind of clicked for me that it is very important to have a different person for every job to have a successful team.
Hmm. I think I was there when he told you that.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was a good example.
Mm-hmm.
And as we said earlier, every great leadership principle, you can take it straight from the Bible, which is exactly where that comes from. So
Yeah.
It's so cool that it's all in one book too.
Yep.
Hey, Rob, can I ask you a question about,
absolutely.
you stated that you kept your values, and I think that one of the things that these two young men are learning at a very young age, and we expect great things from them in their life and great leadership, is that when you live based upon strong values that you get from the Bible, you succeed. You succeed in so many areas of life. Would you mind sharing with us what those 6 values that you
Absolutely.
kept written
Yes.
down?
For me, it starts with integrity. If you don't have integrity, you don't have anything. So doing what you say and living up to that all the time, whether somebody's watching you or not. But integrity, being fair, being firm, and being consistent, those are kind of the cores there. And also what's important to me is personal accountability. I don't try to blame anybody else for anything that goes on. And if you catch me doing that, you need to chastise me, because, we all can slip from time to time. But as SEALs, you guys are going to be the SEALs.
They are. They're my SEALs.
On the battlefield, things always happen. And you can't cry about, oh, I can't believe they did that, or I didn't know they had those weapons. You got to figure out a way to get around it, and you can't blame somebody else. You just have to figure it out and make it happen, and take account of when you screw up, and you will. You take accountability for it, and you say, you know what, I'm not going to do that again. You learn from it, and you move on. Failure is not. Or failing happens all the time, but you're not a failure unless you let it stop you right there and you quit.
Yeah.
The last thing for me is mentoring. I told you I'd groomed at least 12 people to the executive level, and I have found that is a gift of mine, and something I'm very passionate about. That's why I left being a hospital CEO, so that I could coach and mentor other people. So those are my 6 values, and I try to stick to those all the time. And again, if I do something that's outside of those, I want to be called out on it, because that's what I believe in. That help, Mike?
That's awesome. I think all of those are definitely great, and people should take advantage of that. Man, I think that accountability is a big one for me, and just also having my friends to which leads back to what we were talking about earlier, is kind of call me out when I'm out of line, which is very helpful, because sometimes, like you said, it can be a little foggy, and having that person there to put you back on track is a good thing, a good tool to have.
One of the themes that I've talked about throughout tonight is your own gifts and strengths. And if there's really one message that I could leave with you guys, is explore those, because it's really hard sometimes to understand your own strengths, because you only have your own perspective to look at life through. So you have to be really intentional about exploring that, because one of the things that, something that might come really easy to you, you say, oh, that's not a strength. It's easy. Well, what's easy for you might not be easy for Dylan, or Dylan, your strengths, as you already said, might not be Jacob's.
Yeah.
But and the Bible talks about this, God gives all of us strengths and gifts. And so whatever your gift is, I say this to people all the time. Being a kid from Kentucky, I wanted to play basketball better than or more than anybody else.
Mhm.
But no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I practice and work out, it just wasn't in the cards.
Mhm.
That's not a gift of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you may be really good at whatever you try to do, but you can never be exceptional. You can never be great if you're not following God's path for you, the gifts that He's given you. Now, if you do, and you explore them and you work on them and you focus on them, what you can become in God's name is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You may
I
work really hard. You say, oh man, being a hospital CEO, that pays really good and you get all this status, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be an attorney. But if that's not what God intends for you, it's not where your
it's not
gifts
gonna-
are, you'll
Yeah.
be good and it'll be work the rest of your life. But if you
Mhm.
know where
Mhm.
your gifts are, every day will be like a vacation for you. And the money will come and you'll be happy. And what you can give to everybody else will be off the chart.
Yeah. My favorite thing that I've heard is, when those who, I'm going to word it terribly here, so excuse me for that. But those who give to others will receive more than they can hold. And I think that's definitely true.
Yeah.
One of my mentors and favorite people was a guy named Jim Rohn. And I never met him and he didn't know who I was, but boy, was he a mentor to me. And what he said was, if you've got a glass, you can see how much is in there and you can fill it up. But once it's full, you got to pour it out in order for it to come back in.
Yeah.
And so if you keep pouring it out, I promise it'll keep being filled up all the time. So if you're adding value, it'll come back to you multiple
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. That's an awesome example. I love that. Man.
Rob, these two I call my rock stars. They're head and shoulders above everybody else. They're driven. They've got greatness in them. And one thing that you guys might be interested, they both love music. Mr. Followell is a rock star. He's played in some big places.
I would love to hear it. Me and Dylan both play
Yeah.
piano all the time, and I love doing
Mhm.
that. My favorite pastimes.
What do you play?
We've both played, I think, violin, right, Dylan?
Yeah.
Now we both play piano.
I played cello and trumpet also.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. We played all the things.
Yeah, you played
both
cello and
played-
trumpet too.
Yeah, we both played violin, cello, trumpet, and piano. Man.
Hmm.
And we both did swim. I'm still in swim.
Yeah.
That's
I'm still in swim too. I just didn't go into the Red Mountain one because I have to do Spanish.
I was, while you were talking, Mr. Followell, about how every person on a team needs to be able to perform the actions of their teammates. I kind of related to that to what we do in practice right now, which is we're all categorized by our strengths. So for some people that might be backstroke or breaststroke or whatever it is for each person. But we practice everything just like everyone else, regardless of whether you're better at something else, because you got to learn the roles of your teammates as well.
Yeah.
So that's something I can actually connect with on like a personal level. But yeah, I think having a good team and having friends like Dylan are very important to me personally. And I think everyone should find someone like that.
Yeah. I agree.
Tell you what, guys, this was a great interview. If I got any volunteers to say the prayer tonight.
I'd love to. I can pray.
Go ahead.
Okay. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us gather here today and just, further our knowledge on leadership and being a part of a team, and just continue to let us grow and, grow our faith and help everyone to take away from this, whether it's, finding those things that are important to them, or making new friends and trying to find people with the same values and ideas as them. Just help someone to learn something from this in whatever way possible. And feed the hungry, cure the sick. Amen.
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 Thank you, Rob.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you for your time, Rob.
Thank you for your time.
Give these guys my contact information. If I can ever help you guys out, feel free to give me a shout.
Oh, trust me, I
All
will.
right. Yeah.
All right,
I'll
guys.
probably
They
Have
will
a great
take you
night.
up on that, Rob. I know
Mr.
they will.
Sheridan and I
Yeah.
will talk to you soon.
All right. Good night.
Awesome.
There, guys.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
night, guys.